Hey guys, it's Caitlin, and today I'm going to be doing the Intimidating TBR tag. So this tag has about 10 questions and it just asks you about your TBR and why you haven't read certain books. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question is, what book have you been unable to finish? And for me, that's pretty easy. That book is unfortunately Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I know that a lot of people love this book and rave about it, but for me, it just kind of missed the mark. I've physically read a couple chapters in this book. I've listened to the audio book to about halfway, and neither really work for me. I don't know if it's the story, I don't know if it's the writing, I can't get into it and I cannot do it. So my husband actually really loves this series, that's why it's still on my shelves, and he's reading Supernova right now. He claims it's really good, but it isn't my cup of tea and I am very unable to finish it. For the next couple questions, it's what book have you not yet been able to read because? And the first one of those is, what book have you not been able to read because you haven't had the time? The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. I really want to read this book. Do not get me wrong. I really want to read it. The concept sounds amazing and everyone says that if you like The Diviners, you'll like this book. Well, I love The Diviners and I know I'm really going to like this. It's set in the 1920s. It's about a missing artifact and this person who can time travel. It combines everything that I love into one book, but I just, for whatever reason, have not been able to read it, and I don't have the time for a book series like this. The next question is, what book have you not yet read because it's a sequel? And for me, I'm really sad to say, Hollow City by Ransom Briggs. So this book, I'm not reading it because it's a sequel, but it is the only one that fits this prompt. I have no idea why I'm not reading this book. I absolutely loved Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and I loved the movie. And in fact, I've read that book 3 times, and I've watched the movie even more than that. I absolutely love the story, but for whatever reason, when I gravitate towards my shelves, this is not what I gravitate towards. I have tried getting the audiobook and I get about a chapter in and then I forget about it and then the loan is due. So for whatever reason, I just have not picked up this book, and it's definitely not because it's not a good book or it's not a good series. I think I just love the first book so much that no book in this series could top that, and so I think I'm scared to read this because it's a sequel. Comment down below if you've read this and you thought it was just as good, if not better, than the first one, and maybe that'll convince me to read it. The next question is, what book have you not yet read because it's brand new? And for this one, I have 2 answers. I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and this book came out October 6th of this year, so it's still pretty new, but the other one I have for this prompt is Queen of Volts by Amanda Foody. I love Amanda Foody's work, and I love the Ace of Shades trilogy. I guess I can't say I love the trilogy if I haven't read the 3rd one, but this one came out in September and I was so excited to read it, and I still am. For whatever reason, I cannot pick it up. I don't know if it's because it's the conclusion or because it's brand new and I don't want to read it. I don't know what it is. With The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I think it's because, and I'm going to try and read it this month, but I think it's because it's brand new and everyone's talking about it. Unless you live under a rock, you have heard about this book. And my expectations are just so high at this point that it's gonna have to be an amazing book to live up to the standards I've put in my head of this book, and I don't think it's fair that I'm giving this book such high standards. I know V.E. Schwab can for sure meet those standards, but I'm just terrified that it is going to be a disappointment because I am really expecting to love it a lot. What book have you not yet read because you read a book by the same author and you didn't like it. I'm not sure if this counts, but I'm going with Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. So before you go and click off this video because I'm talking bad about Sarah J. Maas and the Throne of Glass series, hear me out. So I read The Assassin's Blade and I didn't like it, but I don't think it's the fault of Sarah J. Maas's writing or even the fault of the series. I think it's because I really don't like novellas, and the only novellas I've liked are from Cassandra Clare, and there's no way I'm not going to like something by Cassandra Clare. So I think that's the reason I didn't like it, but because it left a bad taste in my mouth. I haven't picked up Throne of Glass even though I really want to get into this series. I don't know if this counts because it was in the same series that I read it, but this is my answer for this question because I didn't enjoy The Assassin's Blade. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, and I think I regretted that after I did it because I think it deserves a little bit less than that for me. So let me know if you enjoyed the Throne of Glass series. I know basically everyone loves this series and raves about it. Maybe I'll give it a chance. I'm not sure yet. I definitely want to give it a chance, but I'm still unsure. The next question is, what book have you not yet read because you're just not in the mood for it? That's again a pretty easy one for me, and it's going to be Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is another book that everyone raves about, and I really do want to read it, but I just haven't been in a mood for a sci-fi, which sounds crazy because I read a sci-fi in November and absolutely loved it, but I know that Brandon Sanderson books are very chunky and they take time to read, especially I believe this has super thin pages and it's not exactly a short book. So the sci-fis that I have read have been a lot shorter than this, and so sci-fi is kind of an intimidating genre for me. So I definitely want to get to it, and I want to read my first Brandon Sanderson book, and I want to understand the hype of this book, but I just have not been in the mood for this book yet. And the next question is, what book have you not yet read because it's huge? This book could fit for a couple prompts, but it's The Toll by Neal Shusterman. So this book is over 600 pages. And if you had asked me this question, 2 months ago, I would have said The Diviners, because I put that book off so long because it was huge and so intimidating to me. But I think this book is the most intimidating to me by far because of its size. I read the physical book of Scythe, but for Thunderhead, I listened to it on the audiobook, and I much preferred the audiobook for this series, and I know that if I listened to it on audiobook I would be fine, but just look at how big it is and tell me that's not intimidating. I know some people do not get intimidated by the size of a book, but I'm not one of those people, and this book really intimidates me, so I haven't read it yet, even though I love the Scythe series and loved Thunderhead and really want to know where he goes after that ending, but it just hasn't made its way to the top of my TBR yet. And the next question is, what book have you not yet read because it was a cover buy, but it ended up having bad reviews? So this question was pretty hard for me as I don't normally buy books based on their cover. I know a lot of people do, but I really don't think I do. But the only one that I can possibly give this to is The Stormcrow by Kaylin Josephson. And tell me this book is not absolutely gorgeous. I love the cover of this book, and on the inside is a map of the world, which I always love to see in books, but the ratings for this book are they're not there. I think it's at like a 3.5 stars, which is not a bad rating, but I think this is the only book that I give this question to because the cover is so beautiful and the ratings are so not. And the last question, what is the most intimidating book on your TBR? And for me, that is not a hard question. The most intimidating book on my TBR by far is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This book, I want to read this so badly. I purposely got this because of the reviews that I have read about it, but it intimidates me and I don't know why. It's not because of the size, it's not that big, it's only about 440 pages long, and to me, I read books like that all the time, so it's not that bad. But it's just something about this book really intimidates me, and I just have not been able to read it because it is so intimidating. Tell me if you love this book, because maybe that'll convince me to finally put that away and try and read this. But for now, this is the most intimidating book on my TBR, and I don't see that changing anytime soon, but I definitely do want to read this. Maybe it'll happen next year. So that is the intimidating TBR tag. That definitely made me think about all of the books that I have not read that are on my shelves, and I think there will definitely be a video soon of every single book on my shelves that I haven't read yet, because I think that would be a really fun thing to film. Let me know if in the comments below if you would be interested in a video like that. Make sure and also hit that like button while you're down there, and that giant red subscribe button, and the bell next to it so you get notified every time that I post. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!